All right, good afternoon and welcome to today's market color recap session. My name is Abigail and I'll be taking the first half of this analysis. This is going to be a recap on what the market has done so far. Before we proceed into looking at technicals, let's take a quick look at Forex Factory. We had our core PPI data come out at 1:30 p.m., which served as an extra push for this particular asset class we're looking at today. So today is August the 14th, being a Thursday, right? And I'm going to refresh this. Give me a second. Okay, so we had one. This is the news release I'm talking about. Core PPI month-on-month and unemployment claims. This came out higher than expected or forecasted. So you're looking at this now. What was forecasted to come out was 0.2%. What it came out as was 0.9%. And of course, the usual effect is actual greater than forecast is good for currency. Since this news release is on the dollar, explains why we saw more strength go into the USD and the AUD/USD pushed a bit further down, right? So having that in mind now, let us see what this particular asset class is doing. So for me, I've been in a sell of AUD/USD since yesterday. You can see this particular level point that I marked out and price tapped into. So I sold into this zone and was waiting to see what price would do around this level. I wanted to see if price was going to be able to violate this level downward. And if it does that, we know what's going to happen. We'll just see continuous sales of AUD/USD from here, a retest, and then target the next level, right? But if price failed to break below this zone, they would have seen a continuation to the upside. Price will keep doing this and continue to buy, most likely into the next liquidity level, which happens to be the FVG we see around this zone, right? So this was what I was looking out for, but price is looking like it has, or it's wanting to break below that zone. If price happens to break below this zone, then we just may see more push on AUD/USD downward, most likely. But if price support around this zone, if it happens to hold, then we'll be seeing AUD/USD to the upside. But for me personally, I'm pretty much done on this asset class. Price has given me what I wanted. I delivered how many pips so far? Let us see. From my point of entry to where price currently is, this was where I entered from when price retested, done over 40 pips. I know that AUD/USD is not the fastest moving asset class. So this is, give us this day our daily bread done. Moving on, next asset class, let's just see what NZD/USD is currently doing. So we're going to do, let's do a quick top down for this asset class and see what the market is showing us. On the monthly time frame now, so that price has been consecutively breaking downward. Looking at this particular zone, you'll see that if price continues to break below, then where it's going to find supports at is down here. But this is the monthly time frame. So I'm just going to draw this for drawing sake. Before price gets to this zone, it's going to take a very, very long time. And for price to keep pushing upward, the next level it's going to be targeting is this particular zone. Okay, let's go to the weekly. What's the predominant trend we see on the weekly time frame? Major structure happens to be breaking to the downside, right? And then our minor structure, we see a temporal or a change of character happen around here. You won't see it clearly here until we go to the daily or even the 4-hour time frame. I'm going to go down there, but you also see that price started to react off a level. Look at this. This was a previous support that acted as resistance to push NZD/USD to the downside. Okay, on the daily time frame, we're going to go ahead and delete this. We don't really need it for much. On the daily time frame now, what do I see? So when price was buying and buying and buying, you see that we first saw our first change of character around this level. This is pure market structure. Our first change of character occurred around this zone, but with the confirmatory break of structure is not as clear as I would prefer. Also quite explanatory. Let's go to H4. You see how I keep fine-tuning more and more downward to have a clearer picture, because we do not want to force ourselves into the market at any point in time. We should always be clear. If you're forcing yourself, it is not the clearest, right? So on the 4-hour time frame, this was where we saw our first change of character. Price was buying. When we saw this sale happening, price came and changed character, gave almost a confirmatory break of structure, but then reversed. So we saw this zone higher high. Instead of giving us a higher low, higher high, it came and broke below. So this was our first change of character, confirmatory break of structure. You see why I went ahead and marked this zone, right? Because I'm expecting price to, if price eventually returns into the zone, we would see reactions. But price started to buy, it didn't get completely into that level yet. And this fair value gap triggered. This is where NZUSD is currently selling from. The fair value gap, this is liquidity. Price came, filled the imbalance, and then continued to sell. Okay, so I'm looking at this picture now. Where is price headed to? Because price does not just move based on vibes. I always state this. It always targets different things. So now that price has already reacted from this first zone, I'm looking at this market structure again. Price was selling. We saw a change of character, confirmatory break of structure around this level. Now, I would have preferred to see a very clean order block around this zone to give me that extra confidence for me to go ahead and draw that level. But I'm still going to go ahead and draw this to see what price does. This is not the most preferred that I would see, but you can still see the struggle between this particular candle here, where the sellers pushed it down, buyers pushed it back up and continued. On the 2-hour time frame, please tell me if what I'm saying is making sense. Please tell me. If I'm passing the information correctly, let me know. On the 2-hour time frame now, you see those ones that we marked out on the H4 and daily that were not as clear. You'd see that they are clearer now. So change of character, confirmatory break of structure. This is a point of interest. This is our liquidity zone that we had marked out on the H4 time frame, our fair value gap. And then I'm also seeing our price doing this now. So on the flip side, price came, changed character, confirmatory break of structure. This is going to serve as a bit of an hindrance for NZUSD, this particular candle you're seeing here. So if price is able to break through this zone, then we just may see continuous sales of this NZUSD. Also bear in mind the data release that we saw come out for the dollar, PPI coming out stronger than expected. Now CPI is the one that does a lot of bigger moves in the market, right? PPI is also high impact, but CPI always does more volume. So having that in mind, at the back of my mind, that PPI came out better than expected, then it is possible to see more strength going to the dollar and more weakness on NZUSD. Remember, dollar correlated pairs. So we're basically selling NZD, buying USD if we keep selling these asset classes. So this is what I think is going to happen. If price is going to keep tanking, come and violate this zone. If you violate this zone as well. Let us see continuous sales downward. Right? We want to see continuous sell downward, and then we'll know that NZUSD will keep tanking. However, if not, and support is found around these zones on the downside, and confirmatory patterns are met, then we may see NZUSD push to the upside. Okay, so somebody asked the question, Mr. Raphael. He said, after you finish, please kindly use 2 minutes to explain change of character and break of structure. Okay, so ideally, I'd have said you should enroll for our classes so we can teach you properly, give you the step-by-step process you need, but let's just do a quick explanation. Okay, so you see how price was buying here. But let's start all the way from this one. So there are different characteristic patterns you want to see for different trends. If you're in an uptrend, you want to see higher highs and higher lows being printed, downtrend, lower highs and lower lows. Now, if price keeps giving you lower highs and lower lows, you know that you are still in the downtrend. But in the situation where a lower high or a lower low was supposed to be printed, but you saw a break that came and changed that characteristic pattern, it is a change of character. Again, downtrends have characteristics you want to see. Lower high, lower low. Let me use this too. Lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. This came almost changed character here, but it still gave us a lower low, a lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, right? Ideally, what should we have seen at this zone? We ought to have seen a lower high printed and another lower low if it was going to continue being a downtrend. But what happened? Price came and it broke below this zone, or rather broke above this zone. The moment it broke above this zone, this was a change of character of the downtrend behavioral pattern. Do you understand? It's a change of character. And then when price came back down and broke another structure again, this was now a confirmation that a break of structure is occurring. I hope that's clear, Mr. Raphael. So this was a confirmatory break of structure. They do what they are not supposed to do. Once a trend that has been doing one thing starts doing another thing, is a change of character. Should I use tribes? Imagine seeing a typical Yoruba man speaking Igbo. While that is not weird, it is a change or a difference in what he ought to be speaking, if that makes sense. Okay, so that is it for NZUSD and AUDUSD. This is supposed to be quite short as it is a recap, but let's see a quick look at USD card before we go into indices. User, hi sir. I don't know if it's the same user that I communicate with every now and then. Good afternoon, sir, if that's you. If not, welcome. Welcome. Okay, so I'll go ahead and delete everything on the chat. Okay. So monthly trend is doing this, right? Weekly, same thing. Predominant trend is to the upside. You saw a change of character happened around this zone, better still around here, and then a break of structure. But let's go back to the daily and see if we have more data to look at. So this is now another level to look at here. Okay, so this is now an area of interest that price could eventually trade into all the way up here. I'm going to go ahead and draw this doji candle here also as a point of interest. On the H4, what do we see on the H4 time frame? Okay, so on the H4 time frame, price was doing all of this. It came here, gave us a change of character. Predominant move on this since the 25th of July has been to the upside, right? Then we saw ranging. Now let's go to our time frame for a better picture. To our time frame. Okay, so all of this is still doing its thing, but it is not as clear as I would prefer. It is not as clear as I would prefer to see. You could even safely say this is a range that price is about to break out of. So for USD card H2, H4 is also not as clear as I would prefer. However, when price was selling around here, we saw the first change of character and the confirmatory break of structure, which is exactly where price is currently trading off of. Price was doing this, it gave us a change of character here and a break of structure around here. So you see, do you now see where price is currently buying from for USD card? Marking out this candle. This is where price is currently buying from. So where is it headed to? I marked out a zone on B1. It is likely that price is going to buy back all the way in here, provided there's no liquidity on the road that it may tap into and continue to sell. So if price takes out this zone, look at this big fair value gap. Although it is safe to say price already tapped into that though. This was our FVG. This, but price already tapped into that zone. So is it going to hold a second time? We'll be watching to see. H1. H1, is there another liquidity zone? So if price breaks through this zone, it is safe to say USD card is going to be headed for the level above here. And if it breaks above, we know when else it is going to be going to. Okay, so final question right here said, as the dollar gained back its strength. So looking at what this news release shows for today, it gained back its strength, right? Can you give me a second? So looking at what this news release did, it already gained back its strength temporarily. This is PPI, right? There are different news releases or different economic data that will come out and create a shift. But right now, I think we should see more strength going into this. For unemployment claims, now what does this mean? It means actual less than when the number of unemployed people in the country is less than what was forecasted, then it means there's strength in that economy. So if unemployment claims is showing that the unemployed people are lesser than the unemployed people's numbers have gone lower, meaning the economy should be thriving. If PPI is also showing you greater than expected, it also means the economy, it's more strength for the economy. So if these three different news releases are showing that there is some sort of strength or stability, then we should see buys for USD, all things being equal. Is that clear, sir? Is that clear, sir? Can send me a DM on Telegram. As Mr. User, send me a DM on Telegram, and we can have more conversations about fundamentals. I think I see that you have interest in learning more about fundamentals. It is very important to me, very. So you can just tag me or look for Abigail, and I'll guide you through. Is that helpful, sir? Would that be helpful to you?
Yeah, very well.
So I can't really hear you. Let me increase the volume. Hold on. Sorry, what did you say, sir?
I say it's okay, very well said. It's actually reach you on Telegram also.
Okay, you can just send a message in Telegram. All right. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. I've taken so much time. Yes, thank you, thank you. We'll go into the next half that covers indices. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be back very, very shortly. Cheers and God bless. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the second part of the market color this afternoon. Hope we're good. Hope we are fine. All right, quickly, we'll be looking at the US market and how that market is faring so far, so good. All right, so that's been an interesting day so far with the market selling off a bit. Let me share my screen. I believe you can't see my screen yet. All right. So on the daily time frame, we are still very, very much ranging in our refusal to break this high, right? We have this high. We've touched it once, right? We've touched it once. This is this here. Yeah. We've touched it once. But then on the 4-hour time frame, something interesting is happening, right? For those who understand box strategy, that's what's playing out currently on the 4-hour time frame. Let me delete this. Although everything is still not set, kind of, but then price, I saw this setup since on Tuesday. Should I say on Tuesday? Yeah, I saw this setup on Tuesday. This is a perfect box strategy, right? Textbook pattern, and it's selling off currently. For me, I wanted to sell this market, or I'm also going to sell this market, but then I assumed it was going to come further into this other block and then start selling off from the other block. But instead, it just took out liquidity and then it start selling to the downside. This sell-off, I believe, is not strong, wouldn't be strong, right, in terms of the pressure, because directional bias, the market is clearly bullish, right? It's clearly bullish. And then sentiment is still tilting to the market being very, very optimistic, right? So for that reason, I don't see this sell-off to be really, really strong. Just that I really hope it could just reverse a bit, tap into this other block, and then start selling off much more, because from Fibonacci, the last swing, which is this last low to this high, at least we still have 50% to go, or 61.8. So if we could just retest that and then we start seeing a drop off to 61.8 level, that would make me some significant amount of money. But then if it doesn't, I mean, life goes on. It is what it is, right? We just keep trading the market. All right, so that's it for US 30 on the 1-hour time frame. Really nothing. And one of the signs that this guy was not going to move, because since morning, if it was the normal typical US 30, it will actually range a bit here and then finally just break out into this other block, tap into it, and then start selling it. But from yesterday into this morning, just imagine, this is the kind of price action we've been having. So therefore, as price, came, that's the 130 news came out, boom, we saw a turn to the downside. I really believe or trust that it will still tap us in with those levels we've marked out before. But that being said, if it doesn't, I would expect, some reversals from this zone, which still aligns with the entire 61.8 level, right? Meaning price sells into this zone, then I would expect that price will bounce off from this zone to the other side, right? It will correct itself. Let me use the right thing. On US 100, also we have a sell-off. We have a sell-off on US 100. As we speak now, this sell-off is quite interesting because it looks like a box pattern, right? It looks like a box pattern by the time you come to the 30-minute time frame. Yeah, it looks like a box pattern, a sweep, break to the downside, and then this will now serve like a inducement. We have this entire fair value gap for us to tap into. I have a fair value gap here. We have an order block above, right? And then price can tap either from the fair value gap or the order block. But also, why we are not that big also on the what's it called now, the sell, is because, to be very, very honest, while price is still price is giving us very movements now, we are clearly bullish on the higher time frame. And the H1 can see H1 is clearly bullish. In fact, this looks like a retracement, right? By the time we apply our Fibonacci to it, this looks like a retracement. Price is testing 50% fib level, probably tap into 61.8 or 78.6 and then continue to the upside. So all of this drama for a sell might not be what it is. That one. The second flip side is that truly it could be that the sell have started because you have a build-up of liquidity, diagonal liquidity here, right? You have a build-up of diagonal liquidity, right? But then one thing I would just prefer, I'm just should I say trusting the process that price still, if it's going to be a liquidity sweep, because we're in August, and usually August, September used to be a very rocky month because seasonality, right? From historic data, August and September, even into October, used to be very, very rough due to price seasonality. If that's going to happen this year, what will I expect? I expect the price to tap into this zone, and then finally we'll now see like a tap, like a massive sell-off to the downside, right? Which it also means that this will just be an excuse for investors, long-term investors, for them to buy stock at cheaper price, right? They're now buying stock like Alphabet, Meta, Nvidia, Valentine, Tesla, right? They will just buy it cheaper and then it will continue to rally into Q4, right? That being said, that's what I'm looking at for on US 100, and I've stated my position on US 30 already. To the final one, which is S&P 500. Also, we had almost like the same thing, right? On these guys, almost like the same thing. Price is trying to reprice. We have the entire 68 points. The level between 68 and 78.6. That's an order block, a very strong one, which price could as well bounce off from, right? So we'll be watching these levels significantly, and then we'll be able to make our decisions from this level because they are quite significant, right? They are quite significant. All right, and that's pretty much what we have for today. It's a good time to ask a question. If you have any question, Ayuba, David, Esther, Ezekiel, Raphael, Simeon, and User, do you have any question as regards the analysis being made? Apologies for the background noise. It's a bit, there's a lot of traffic today to work. All right, I see we have no question. Thank you so much for joining. Once again, tomorrow the analysis continues, right, by 8:30 in the morning for the London session. Right, and then by 2 p.m. we have the New York session where we discuss everything, gold, yen, dollar index, and its related asset class. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining. See you tomorrow. Till next time, cheers and God bless.